Yeah, God salute. I would like to welcome you to our first audio recording, number 1, on the topic of freedom. This is Hulda OFFENBAUER. Immanuel Kant said, "The freedom of the individual ends where the freedom of others begins." Matthias Claudius has said, "Freedom consists in being able to do anything that does not harm another." As you can see, freedom also has limits, and these must also be respected. Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, "The freedom of man is not that he can do what he wants, but that he does not have to do what he doesn't want." And Eric Satie said, "With the first link the chain is forged. If the first speech is censored, the first thought forbidden, and the first freedom denied, then we are all irrevocably shackled." And yet you can be free on the inside even if you are shackled on the outside. I would like to illuminate this freedom with you today. A person's true freedom includes being able to say what one thinks without always being immediately condemned and attacked for it. When a person lives in true freedom, being attacked or condemned does not bring him out of his center. That is true freedom. Of course, this does not mean that one should not care about what the other person says, but this freedom is there and it remains. This statement remains standing even if it is condemned or attacked from the outside. One can let freedom stand, even if one disagrees, and does not have to attack the other person for it. So to say my freedom and his freedom. And my freedom, as already said, ends where the freedom of the other begins. This means I may grant the other also the area of the freedom that also he can say and think what goes on in him without judging it now. It is simply a fact. One may and can simply leave it there. That is freedom. I recently experienced a story that I will also publish later under the Everyday Stories. That is, I met a shaman who told me about his contact with his spirits during our conversation. We had a great conversation. Although earlier I would have thought, "Boy, a shaman, goodbye, I'll be on my way in a minute." Because in the past I didn't have that freedom and would have judged him. Freedom is a realm we are allowed to grow into. Basically, everyone desires freedom. However, when he really has freedom, insecurity appears in most people. Why? Because we are used to having everything predetermined. We gladly hand over the self-decision which we have in freedom to others because we are structured that way by our upbringing. This responsibility to decide for ourselves has been trained away from us. Everywhere we look, we find the moral apostles with their pointing finger raised, prescribing exactly what, how, and when something is to be done. There are these orders, these laws, these guidelines everywhere which take away the freedom to make one's own decision. Let's take, for example, the recommendations for diets. It is prescribed exactly what, when, and how often you should eat and what should be combined. If you really look into it, you'll see that it often contradicts itself. The bottom line is that our body knows exactly what is good for it, because this knowledge is built in by our Creator. We should learn to listen to our inner voice more and more. Another example is all the psychologists and psychiatrists. They tell you, for example, how to make decisions. We can also use the Bible in this area because it also tells us how to behave. But here the difference is that I have a certain framework where I'm allowed to decide freely. First of all, I'm free to decide whether I accept it or not. The Bible wants to lead us into this freedom to think for ourselves. What do I really want? We've forgotten to define our desires, and if we look closely, the Bible leads us there. This is the way that Jesus Christ shows us. Let's look at a human life. First, there is education. Then we are relationship, and everything pulls. Where does it pull? In any direction or to anyone away from us. When it comes to education and relationships, it's always this I should, I must, but it should be I may, I will. Why? Because I know who I am. It's about knowing who I am. And if I know that I'm a true born-again child of God, then I know that I have freedom. God's children are freed to the life, are freed to the love. Why? Because it's written in the Bible. John 8:36. If then the Son makes you free, you are really free. I believe Jesus consciously wrote this word really in. There are so many freedoms. The world offers us so many freedoms. However, they do not make us truly free. In the end, we are enslaved again. But when Jesus makes us free, then we are truly free. This word really does not occur often in the Bible, only in important subjects. Jesus uses this word deliberately because it should show in this important topic there is only this one right way. The Son makes you free, really free, really free. I can only tell you I'm breathing this freedom right now and it smells so good. Can you smell it too? Breathe. Breathe the fragrance of freedom. The freedom that Jesus Christ wants to give us here. Breathe. I wish you God's blessings in this.